Now, you will be very aware, you know, that Leicester is one of the most diverse cities in the UK and has earned a good reputation overall for race relations policies and how people generally get on with each other. Well, there's a big event tonight, part of the Human Rights, Arts and Film Festival, exploring what this word diversity actually means in its, and what it means to the city, what issues need to be addressed, how people can benefit from the nature of the population of Leicester. Well, Dr. Leah Bassel is from the University of Leicester, one of the speakers tonight. Morning.
Good morning.
It's a big word, diversity, isn't it? What does it actually mean, in essence, in this context of this conference?
Well, I think the really interesting thing, the organizers, and I congratulate Ambrose from CUA for putting together with his colleagues an excellent event, is really thinking about diversity in the way we typically associate it around questions of culture and religion, but also pushing us beyond that to be thinking about other aspects of our identity and the ways in which we live together and how it's important to make connections between them, our social class, our levels of ability, our gender, these different kinds of aspects of our lives that come together and shape the way we experience the world and our relations with each other.
Now, I might be making assumptions here, Leah, but you don't sound born and bred Leicester to me. I'm very interested in your perspective of the city, coming and living here and your observations.
Well, Leicester is particularly a city I've had the opportunity to do research in, and I would say it's a very interesting city because for the reasons that you mentioned, it's one of the main minority-majority cities in which non-white residents outnumber white residents. There's a lot of emphasis on multiculturalism and diversity, and there are a lot of really interesting initiatives from the grassroots where people have come together to think about the ways in which we live together and interact and how people might forge a different type of future as well. I would stress that doesn't mean there aren't problems, and I can see the ways in which people are struggling under austerity, under the current very uncertain political climate that we're living in, but there are very positive messages also about this will to act together and to communicate across differences.
The thing is, though, that for many years now, it's become almost a well-worn phrase. Oh, Leicester's great, everybody muddles along really well. It's a great example of how, people can live and work together. But scratch not too far beneath the surface. And there are all sorts of issues and problems and divisions which are there. Do you think that that's being talked about enough in the city?
I think there's always more to be done, and certainly there are really important things to address further around issues of immigration and immigration status. There are some actors in the city that have been doing a lot of work to welcome refugees, and I think more could be done on that front in order to be thinking about bridging divides that often can get created between us and them, and also ways in which other inequalities can be brought to the fore, thinking about, for example, challenges around educational attainment and social class, and the ways in which all of these different areas of our lives come together and shape our realities.
I mean, coming together and talking about these things is one thing, isn't it? And it's very easy to do that and gather people together. What are you hoping practically and usefully will come out of the event?
I can see a fascinating range of speakers, and I'm very, very pleased and honored to be part of the group. And what I think would be really interesting, which I hope to be addressing in my talk, and I hope will be coming through in our discussion, is how we can use an event like this to listen to each other differently, what I call a politics of listening, where we can switch the role of sort of speaker and listener, where I as an academic actually don't talk and listen to what the other speakers have to say about their experiences of these multiple forms of diversity, but also of inequalities and exclusions. And then to think about different ways forward. What does that mean in terms of our daily lives? What does that mean in terms of the spaces that we move within and the kind of actions we may want to undertake, whether that's in our professional lives, in our children's schools, as volunteers? Are there other things we can be doing and other ways we can be interacting with people around us? And I think this event is a great foundation for that.
Right, Leah, thank you. Dr. Leah Bassel from the University of Leicester will be one of the speakers there at that event, which is just off the Narborough Road, a very apt place, I think, one of the most diverse streets in the country to have those discussions and conversations.